The rapid continuation of the Israel Defense Forces offensive in Gaza remains underway. At this time, most buildings in Gaza have been severely damaged or completely destroyed by different types of attacks: aerial bombardment, artillery fire, advancing tanks and infantry. The videos show the Merkava tanks grouped in a camping area surrounded by long embankments and sand. These tanks have been deployed alongside forward units on a regular basis. It seems likely that the sand walls, in their defensive function, are preventing Hamas fighters from carrying out attack and retreat tactics. The Israel Defense Forces reported that its troops have taken control of a strong Hamas stronghold in West Jabalia, located just north of Gaza. This advance occurred while they were moving towards the center of Gaza City, where the militant group is presumed to have its clandestine base. This capture has been a significant blow to Hamas's damaging plans. The number of Israeli Defense Forces casualties has risen to 35 since the start of the ground operation in Gaza. This is due to the Army's announcement of the death of another soldier in combat. Meanwhile, negotiations between Israel, the United States, and Qatar for the eventual release of hostages are gaining ground. However, Jerusalem has repeatedly rejected any short-term deal, reaffirming that there will be no ceasefire until the hostages are freed. The White House has announced that Israel has agreed to extend daily ceasefire periods in specific areas of northern Gaza in order to allow safe passage for innocent civilians. This decision adds to the continuous efforts that have been made. In addition to these developments, both Israel and the United States have escalated their tensions in Syria. The Pentagon said its military forces in Syria and Iraq were attacked 4 times after the United States carried out a nighttime airstrike on a weapons depot as a deterrent measure. Hezbollah militants, despite their military prowess, make obvious mistakes. United States defense officials reported that U.S. and coalition forces in Syria and Iraq suffered multiple attacks in the previous day, resulting in 3 minor injuries. These attacks coincided with a recent U.S. airstrike on an Iranian weapons depot, followed by warning shots aimed at Iranian bases. Iran's response generated a brief escalation, raising global concern about a possible war between Iran and Israel. The series of attacks did not stop there. Over the past day, militants carried out 2 separate attacks using large numbers of rockets against U.S. and coalition forces in the Green Village area of Syria. Additionally, in Syria, they used one-way drones to attack U.S. and coalition forces in the mission support area on the Euphrates River. In Iraq, a U.S. and coalition convoy discovered an improvised explosive device on the side of the road near the Mosul Dam. Additionally, a one-way attack drone was used against U.S. and coalition forces at Assad Air Base in Iraq. Although 3 minor injuries were reported in the Green Village attacks, all staff resumed their duties, according to Sabrina Singh, Deputy Press Secretary. Since October 17th, U.S. and coalition forces have faced 46 attacks, resulting in 56 personnel injured. Meanwhile, Israel is intensifying its operations in the Gaza tunnels, constantly working to gain an advantageous position in this underground labyrinth. Identifying as many entrances as possible is crucial to tackling a tunnel system estimated to be 500 kilometers long. The number of entries is most likely in the tens of thousands. Most of these entrances are strategically hidden inside residential buildings, garages, industrial facilities, warehouses, and are buried under piles of rubble after a month of continuous bombing. Despite this, since the Gaza offensive in 2014, Israel has been preparing to attack these tunnels, maintaining constant surveillance using drones equipped with advanced software that analyzes movement patterns. Israel has the ability to identify individual faces and match them against a database of known Hamas members, which has led to the discovery of hundreds or even thousands of known entries. However, even if all known entrances are attacked, this does not mean that the tunnels become unusable for Hamas, as most of them have multiple entrances at both ends, leaving some of them operational. Hamas, as the builder of these tunnels, has a great advantage in knowing the underground network. Although Israeli software can provide clues by analyzing movement patterns and possibly identifying the connection between 2 points, it cannot reveal underground routes, exact addresses, or intersections. Mapping the tunnels, regardless of the precision of the commands, involves facing considerable dangers and challenges. The first challenge is technical. GPS devices are not useful because satellite signals cannot pass through the ground. It is anticipated that the solution would involve the use of devices that combine magnetic sensors, which are not affected underground, with motion sensors similar to those used in pedometers. Although it is a rudimentary and imprecise system, it is better than no tool at all. Once inside, the commandos will likely work with night vision goggles to avoid using lights that could reveal their location. They will not be able to use radios to communicate with units on the surface, so they will have to resort to telephones with old technology. Soldiers will have to attach moving cables, which will further slow their progress. Even if they encounter no resistance from Hamas, they will have to stop at each intersection and assess the course of the tunnel's ramifications, which involves a meticulous and time-consuming process. A small force will be required to be maintained in each secondary tunnel to protect against potential counterattacks. When finding a vertical access, generally used as an entry point, it will be crucial to stop at that position and transmit that information to the units on the surface. At the same time, units on the surface will be tasked with locating and securing that opening. In case you are in an area outside the control of the Israeli army, it will be imperative to make strategic decisions, and this sequence will be repeated countless times. The Pentagon has reported a new development: the fall of a U.S. military surveillance drone, shot down by Iranian-backed rebels near the coast of Yemen. Pentagon officials confirmed that the MQ-9 Reaper drone was shot down, although they did not reveal whether it was carrying weapons, the location from which it operated, or other relevant details. The incident of the downing of the Reaper drone, a fundamental piece of U.S. military aviation and its surveillance fleet, marked the most recent episode of violence between the United States and Iranian-backed groups in Yemen, Iraq, and Syria. These events highlighted the danger that the conflict between Israel and the Palestinian group Hamas could evolve into a larger war. Last month, a U.S. Navy warship in the northern Red Sea intercepted 4 cruise missiles and more than 25 drones launched from Yemen, the Pentagon said, which may have been targeting Israel. The Houthi militia in Yemen declared that it intended to attack southern Israel, indicating that it had launched a considerable number of ballistic missiles, cruise ships, and drones at Israeli targets. The Israel Defense Forces announced that they had intercepted a surface-to-surface missile attack fired at Israel from the Red Sea region. Since October 17th, Iranian-backed militias have carried out at least 41 attacks against U.S. forces in Syria and Iraq, the Department of Defense reported. The Pentagon reported that at least 46 American soldiers were injured, including 25 with traumatic brain injuries. We appreciate your continued follow-up.